Forget everything you know about rest. 2025 changes the game completely. While everyone else treats rest like giving up, the most dangerous performers treat it like loading a weapon. Take elite athletes who outperform competitors, sleeping 8 hours by strategically timing just 6 hours of high-efficiency sleep. The latest 2025 research proves sleep efficiency matters more than duration, explaining why 15-minute power naps can be more restorative than a full night's rest. Strategic rest isn't the opposite of productivity. It's the secret to effortless high performance. This isn't about being lazy, this is about being lethal. But here's what's shocking. The foundation of everything you think you know about rest is built on a lie that's been sabotaging your energy for years. The sleep duration scam. The 8-hour sleep rule is destroying your energy levels. The National Sleep Foundation's latest research reveals something shocking. Sleep architecture matters more than sleep duration, explaining why people sleeping 8 or more hours report higher fatigue rates than those getting 6 to 7 hours strategically. The sleep duration obsession has been making you more tired, not less tired. While you've been chasing hours, elite performers have been engineering sleep efficiency and leaving exhausted 8-hour sleepers in the dust. Here's what the data actually shows. Sleep tracking technology in 2025 monitors 15 distinct sleep quality markers, and duration ranks dead last in predicting next-day performance. Sleep efficiency scores measure how much of your time in bed actually restores your brain and body. People with 85% sleep efficiency on 6 hours consistently outperform people with 60% efficiency on 9 hours. The difference isn't time spent sleeping, it's time spent in restorative sleep states. Your sleep happens in precisely timed cycles that last roughly 90 minutes each. Each cycle moves through light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep phases. Here's the critical part. Waking up in the wrong phase destroys everything. If you wake during deep sleep after 8 hours, you feel worse than someone who wakes during light sleep after 5 hours. The timing of your wake-up matters more than the total time you spend unconscious. The new 2025 Sleep Architecture Framework measures sleep spindle density, slow wave, sleep percentage, REM latency, and 12 other biomarkers that actually determine how rested you feel. Elite performers track these metrics, not total sleep time. They understand that 40 minutes of deep sleep beats 3 hours of light, fragmented sleep. This is why some people bounce out of bed after 5 hours while others drag themselves through the day after 9 hours. Genetic chronotype alignment can make 6 hours of quality sleep feel as restorative as 8 hours of poorly timed rest. Your DNA determines whether you're naturally wired for early morning peak performance or late night cognitive enhancement. Forcing an evening chronotype to wake at 5 a.m. creates chronic sleep debt that 8 hours can never repay. Meanwhile, morning chronotypes trying to stay productive past 9 p.m. fight against their genetic programming and suffer regardless of sleep duration. The sleep scoring system that dangerous resters use in 2025 calculates recovery based on sleep stage distribution, autonomic nervous system recovery, and cognitive restoration markers. A perfect sleep score of 100 indicates optimal recovery regardless of duration. Elite athletes regularly achieve scores above 85 on 6 hours, while duration-focused sleepers struggle to break 60 on 8 hours. The scoring system tracks what actually matters for performance, not what feels comfortable or socially acceptable. Environmental optimization trumps duration every single time. Temperature regulation, light exposure, noise control, and air quality create the conditions for efficient sleep cycles. A bedroom at 65 degrees with blackout curtains and white noise can deliver more restoration in 6 hours than a chaotic environment provides in 10 hours. Most people focus on time in bed while ignoring the factors that determine sleep quality within that time. Pre-sleep routines in 2025 use targeted interventions to accelerate sleep onset and optimize cycle timing. Magnesium glycinate taken 90 minutes before target sleep time enhances deep sleep phases. Blue light blocking glasses worn 2 hours before bed protect natural melatonin production. Temperature manipulation through cooling mattresses or warm baths triggers the physiological signals that initiate quality sleep cycles. These interventions multiply sleep efficiency far beyond what additional time can provide. The wake timing revolution uses smart alarm technology that monitors your sleep phases and wakes you during light sleep windows. Traditional alarms interrupt deep sleep, causing sleep inertia that lasts for hours. Smart wake technology ensures you emerge from sleep at the optimal cycle point, leaving you refreshed regardless of total sleep time. This single change transforms morning energy levels more than adding extra hours of poorly timed sleep. Sleep consistency beats sleep duration in every measurable outcome. Going to bed and waking up at the same time 7 days a week synchronizes your circadian rhythm and maximizes sleep efficiency. People with consistent 6-hour sleep schedules outperform those with variable 8-hour schedules on cognitive tests, reaction time, and sustained attention. Your brain craves predictability more than it craves extra time. The productivity cost of chasing sleep duration instead of sleep quality compounds daily. Poor sleep architecture leads to decision fatigue, reduced creativity, and impaired problem solving that requires additional work hours to compensate. One night of inefficient 8-hour sleep can cost you 3 hours of productive time the next day. Meanwhile, one night of optimized 6-hour sleep can add 2 hours of peak performance capacity. Recovery tracking in 2025 measures heart rate variability, core body temperature, and stress hormone levels to determine actual sleep recovery. These biomarkers reveal whether your sleep restored your nervous system regardless of duration. Many 8-hour sleepers show poor recovery markers, while strategic 6-hour sleepers achieve optimal restoration. The numbers don't lie about what actually works for human performance. Sleep quality metrics in 2025 predict next-day performance with 89% accuracy, while sleep duration predicts performance with only 23% accuracy. The correlation is clear. Quality matters more than quantity. Elite performers in every field, from athletics to business, optimize for restoration efficiency, not time spent unconscious. They engineer their sleep for maximum recovery in minimum time, while others chase hours and wonder why they still feel exhausted. The 8-hour myth has been stealing years of productivity from people who could have been optimizing for what actually matters. Sleep architecture beats sleep duration every single time. But even perfect sleep means nothing if you can't maintain peak cognitive function throughout your waking hours. Most people destroy their mental performance with the wrong kind of breaks. The 47-second reset protocol. The solution lies in strategic microbreaks that reset your cognitive function in seconds, not minutes. New 2025 neuroscience research using advanced brain imaging technology discovered that microbreaks lasting just 30 seconds trigger rapid neural restoration that longer breaks cannot achieve. While most people waste 15 minutes scrolling their phones or grabbing coffee, these strategic micro-interventions reset your brain faster and more completely than any conventional break method. The timing isn't random. It's based on how your attention systems actually function at the neurological level. Most break strategies make mental fatigue worse instead of better. People take breaks by pausing their work but keeping their mind engaged with the same cognitive processes. They check emails during lunch breaks. They think about deadlines while walking to the bathroom. They mentally rehearse presentations during coffee breaks. This creates what researchers call attention residue, where your brain never actually disengages from work mode. You return from these breaks more mentally cluttered than when you started. Attention residue explains why traditional breaks fail completely. 2025 brain imaging studies reveal that most breaks don't reset neural pathways, they just add more cognitive load. Your prefrontal cortex remains activated, processing work-related information, even when you think you're resting. The neural networks responsible for focused attention stay engaged, creating a traffic jam in your cognitive system. Real breaks require complete attention switching, not attention pausing. The brain's rapid restoration mode activates through specific timing and activities that most people never discover. Your directed attention system can only sustain focus for approximately 25 minutes before requiring restoration. The restoration window lasts around 30 seconds when triggered correctly. During this window, your default mode network activates, your stress hormones decrease, and your cognitive resources replenish. Miss this window, and you need increasingly longer recovery periods to achieve the same restoration effect. Strategic microbreaks enhance creativity by 34% through default mode network activation. This network functions like your brain's creativity center, processing information in the background and generating novel connections between ideas. Traditional breaks keep your directed attention system engaged, preventing default mode activation. The 30-second protocol creates the precise conditions for this network to engage, generating creative insights and problem-solving breakthroughs that focused work alone cannot produce. Top performers use this exact protocol to maintain peak cognitive performance throughout entire workdays. They set timers for 25-minute focused work intervals, followed by brief reset periods. During these resets, they engage in specific activities designed to switch attention channels completely. Looking out windows at distant objects, taking 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths, closing eyes and focusing on ambient sounds. These activities disengage directed attention while activating parasympathetic nervous system recovery. The competitive advantage comes from knowing when and how to reset your brain, while others grind through mental fog. Most people work until they feel mentally exhausted, then take long breaks that don't actually restore cognitive function. Dangerous resters reset before exhaustion hits, maintaining consistent peak performance throughout the day. They understand that cognitive fatigue accumulates invisibly and prevention beats treatment every single time. Attention switching versus attention pausing determines whether breaks work or backfire. Attention pausing keeps you mentally in the same scene, just temporarily stopped. You pause a movie but remain invested in the story. Attention switching changes channels completely, moving from focused work mode to restoration mode. This channel switching triggers different neural networks and allows true cognitive recovery to occur. The physiological changes during a 30-second reset happen faster than most people realize. Heart rate variability increases within 15 seconds, indicating parasympathetic activation. Cortisol levels begin dropping within 30 seconds, reducing stress hormone interference with cognitive function. Default mode network activation peaks around the 30-second mark, generating the creativity boost that enhances subsequent work performance. These changes reverse completely if the reset period extends too long, as directed attention begins re-engaging. The precise protocol works through systematic attention channel switching. Start your timer and immediately shift your gaze to the farthest visible point. This disengages near-focus processing and activates distance vision neural pathways. Take 1 deep breath, expanding your diaphragm fully, then exhale slowly through pursed lips. This activates parasympathetic recovery and reduces cortisol production. Close your eyes and identify 3 distinct sounds in your environment. This switches from visual processing to auditory processing, completing the attention channel switch. Environmental cues optimize the protocol effectiveness beyond the basic timing. Natural light exposure during the reset period enhances circadian rhythm regulation and mood stabilization. Fresh air increases oxygen delivery to the brain, improving cognitive recovery speed. Cool temperatures between 68 and 72 degrees maintain optimal brain function during the reset period. These environmental factors compound the neurological benefits of the timing protocol. The protocol timing aligns with ultradian rhythms that govern cognitive performance cycles. Your brain naturally fluctuates between high focus and low focus states every 20 to 30 minutes. The micro reset synchronizes with these natural valleys, preventing cognitive resource depletion. People who ignore these rhythms experience exponentially increasing mental fatigue as the day progresses. Those who align with them maintain consistent performance from morning until evening. The compound benefits accumulate throughout the day, creating exponential performance improvements. Each successful reset prevents cognitive fatigue accumulation that would otherwise require increasingly longer recovery periods. By hour 6 of work, most people need 30-minute breaks to achieve minimal restoration. Dangerous resters using the microbreak protocol maintain peak cognitive function with the same brief interventions they used in hour 1. But even perfect microbreaks mean nothing if you're fighting against your brain's natural performance patterns. Most people force focus when their brain is naturally designed for rest and wonder why everything feels like pushing a boulder uphill. Your brain's hidden operating system. Your brain operates on its own hidden schedule, and 2025 brain mapping technology reveals that most people fight against this natural operating system instead of working with it. Advanced neuroimaging shows that your cognitive capacity fluctuates in predictable patterns throughout the day, but you've been trained to ignore these signals and force consistent performance. This creates a constant internal battle between what your brain wants to do and what you're demanding it to do. The result is exhaustion that no amount of coffee or willpower can overcome. Ignoring ultradian rhythms is like trying to drive a car in the wrong gear all day long. The National Sleep Foundation identifies these natural 90 to 120-minute cycles that alternate between high focus and low focus states. During high focus periods, your prefrontal cortex operates at peak efficiency, processing complex information and making critical decisions. During low focus periods, your brain shifts into background processing mode, consolidating memories and preparing for the next performance window. Most people try to maintain high focus continuously, creating cognitive strain that compounds throughout the day. The new 2025 research on personalized rhythm tracking uses machine learning algorithms to analyze your individual cognitive patterns. These systems can now predict your optimal focus windows with 89% accuracy based on your personal data patterns. This precision allows you to schedule your most demanding work during natural peak periods and your restoration activities during natural low periods. Some people naturally peak at different times, and elite performers weaponize this knowledge for competitive advantage. The Sleep Foundation's chronotype guidance shows morning types experience peak cognitive function between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., while evening types show peak function from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Understanding your chronotype allows you to align your most important work with your brain's natural peak performance windows, while competitors struggle against their biology. Cognitive load cycling represents a breakthrough discovery about how your brain processes information differently throughout the day. During peak focus periods, your brain efficiently handles complex analytical tasks that require sustained attention. During transition periods, your brain excels at creative tasks that benefit from loose associations and flexible thinking. During low focus periods, your brain consolidates learning and processes emotional information that accumulated during high focus work. Each phase serves essential cognitive functions that cannot be rushed or skipped. New biometric tools can detect your brain's natural rhythm patterns in real time through continuous monitoring of physiological markers. Heart rate variability sensors track autonomic nervous system fluctuations that indicate cognitive state transitions. Skin conductance monitors measure stress response patterns that correlate with mental fatigue. Core body temperature sensors detect circadian rhythm alignment that affects cognitive performance timing. These tools provide immediate feedback about your current cognitive state and optimal activity recommendations. The competitive advantage of syncing your most important work with your brain's peak performance windows compounds over time. While others waste their peak cognitive hours on low-value tasks like email and meetings, you reserve these periods for high-impact work that moves your goals forward. This strategic alignment means you accomplish more meaningful work in less total time while maintaining higher quality output. Your competition exhausts themselves trying to force peak performance during low energy periods, while you work effortlessly during natural peak periods. Forcing focus during low energy periods actually damages your cognitive capacity over time by interrupting essential background processing. Your brain uses low focus periods to consolidate memories, strengthen neural pathways, and clear metabolic waste that accumulates during intense cognitive work. When you override these natural restoration periods, you prevent necessary cognitive maintenance that keeps your brain functioning optimally. This creates a cognitive debt that requires increasingly longer recovery periods to repay. The dangerous rester learns to read their own rhythms by paying attention to subtle cognitive and physical signals throughout the day. Natural focus periods feel effortless, with tasks flowing smoothly and time passing quickly. Transition periods feel creative, with ideas connecting easily and solutions appearing spontaneously. Low focus periods feel scattered, with attention drifting and simple tasks requiring extra effort. These subjective experiences correlate with objective biomarker changes that technology can now track and predict. Leveraging your personal cognitive rhythm creates effortless high performance by removing the friction between your brain's natural state and your work demands. Schedule analytical work during peak focus periods when your prefrontal cortex operates most efficiently. Plan creative work during transition periods when your default mode network generates novel connections. Use low focus periods for routine tasks that don't require sustained attention or complex decision-making. This alignment eliminates the energy waste that comes from cognitive resistance. The Sleep Foundation confirms that ideal temperature between 65 and 68 degrees darkness and minimal noise boost cognitive performance during natural cycles. These environmental controls allow you to fine-tune your cognitive rhythms for optimal performance. Working with your brain's hidden operating system transforms work from a battle of willpower into a dance of strategic timing that multiplies your cognitive capacity while reducing effort. But understanding your natural rhythms means nothing if you can't identify what type of exhaustion is actually draining your energy in the first place. The 9 types of exhaustion. Most people treat exhaustion like it's one problem with one solution, but 2025 research reveals 7 distinct types of rest, and treating them all the same way makes recovery impossible. You've been approaching fatigue like every tired feeling requires the same response, but your body operates separate energy systems that deplete differently and restore differently. While you're taking generic rest breaks, your competition is using precision recovery protocols that target their actual depletion type. This isn't about resting more, it's about resting correctly for your specific exhaustion profile. Sleeping more when you're emotionally drained makes emotional exhaustion worse, not better. Taking mental breaks when you're physically depleted wastes recovery time on the wrong restoration system. The 7 types of rest include physical rest, mental rest, sensory rest, emotional rest, social rest, creative rest, and spiritual rest. Each type depletes through different activities and restores through different recovery methods. Generic rest advice fails because it assumes all exhaustion comes from the same source. Physical rest addresses muscular fatigue and bodily exhaustion that accumulates through movement, exercise, and physical demands. This type shows up as decreased strength, reduced coordination, and muscle fatigue that sleep alone cannot restore. Physical rest requires both passive recovery like sleep and active recovery like gentle movement, stretching, and activities that promote circulation without adding strain. Elite performers understand that complete physical inactivity often worsens physical exhaustion because your body needs movement to facilitate recovery processes. Mental rest targets cognitive overload and brain fatigue that builds through decision-making, problem-solving, and sustained concentration. Mental exhaustion appears as decision fatigue, reduced processing speed, and difficulty concentrating that regular breaks cannot fix. Mental rest requires complete cognitive disengagement from analytical thinking, planning, and information processing. This means avoiding screens, social media, and any activity that demands mental effort during recovery periods. Sensory rest addresses nervous system overwhelm from environmental stimuli like noise, light, crowds, and constant information input. Sensory exhaustion creates hypersensitivity, irritability, and reduced ability to filter irrelevant information. This type cannot be fixed with sleep or mental rest alone. Sensory rest requires reducing stimulation through quiet environments, dim lighting, and activities that calm nervous system activation rather than exciting it. Emotional rest focuses on the depletion that comes from managing feelings, suppressing emotions, and navigating interpersonal dynamics. Emotional exhaustion manifests as irritability, emotional reactivity, and reduced empathy that relaxation cannot address. Emotional rest requires environments where you can express authentic feelings without judgment, social support that doesn't demand emotional performance, and activities that process rather than suppress emotional experiences. Social rest addresses the exhaustion from interpersonal interactions, networking, and social performance demands. Social exhaustion represents the depletion of your capacity to engage with other people and process social information. This system exhausts through meetings, social events, and any interaction that requires emotional regulation or social performance. Social rest requires solitude, protected boundaries, and activities that don't demand interpersonal engagement. Many high performers mistake social exhaustion for introversion when it's actually a depleted energy system. Creative rest targets the mental fatigue that comes from innovation, problem solving, and generating new ideas. Creative exhaustion presents as blocked thinking, reduced innovation, and repetitive thought patterns that downtime cannot solve. Creative rest requires exposure to natural beauty, inspiring environments and activities that stimulate wonder without demanding creative output. This might include nature walks, art appreciation, or music listening that feeds creative inspiration rather than depleting it. Spiritual rest addresses the deeper exhaustion that comes from lack of purpose, meaning, and connection to something greater than yourself. Spiritual exhaustion shows up as cynicism, hopelessness, and feeling disconnected from your values and purpose. Spiritual rest requires activities that restore meaning, like meditation, prayer, community service, or practices that connect you to your deeper purpose and values. The rest inventory approach helps you identify which type of rest you need based on your specific depletion signs. Physical depletion shows up in your body through fatigue, weakness, and reduced physical capacity. Mental depletion appears as foggy thinking, poor decisions, and cognitive overload. Sensory depletion manifests as hypersensitivity to normal stimuli and feeling overwhelmed by your environment. Emotional depletion creates reactivity, mood swings, and reduced emotional resilience. Social depletion makes normal interactions feel draining and overwhelming. Creative depletion blocks innovation and makes everything feel repetitive. Spiritual depletion creates emptiness and disconnection from meaning. The precision recovery methods address root causes instead of symptoms by matching restoration activities to specific depletion types. When you identify emotional exhaustion and apply emotional restoration techniques, you recover faster than trying to fix emotional depletion with physical rest. When you recognize sensory exhaustion and create sensory recovery environments, you restore nervous system capacity more efficiently than using mental break techniques. The competitive advantage comes from knowing exactly what type of rest your body and mind need at any given moment, instead of applying generic recovery strategies. While others waste recovery time on mismatched restoration methods, you target your actual depletion type for rapid restoration. This precision approach cuts recovery time while improving restoration quality. Your competition exhausts themselves further through incorrect recovery, while you restore efficiently through targeted protocols. But even perfect rest targeting means nothing if you're always reacting to exhaustion after it hits, instead of preventing it before it starts. The breakthrough comes from predicting your depletion patterns before they drain. Elite athletes use wearable technology and biometric tracking to predict when their energy systems will reach critical depletion. Heart rate variability monitoring from the Sleep Foundation shows how HRV patterns can indicate recovery needs up to 24 hours in advance. This predictive capability represents the biggest breakthrough in human performance optimization since athletes started tracking basic metrics. While most people wait until they're already burned out to consider rest, elite performers identify optimal intervention points before exhaustion hits. Most people operate on exhaustion reaction instead of exhaustion prevention, making recovery take 5 times longer than necessary. By the time you feel burned out, your stress hormones have spiked, your sleep architecture has deteriorated, and your cognitive capacity has declined significantly. Recovery from full burnout requires weeks of intensive restoration. Predictive systems identify warning signs 72 hours before peak exhaustion, allowing strategic intervention when recovery still takes hours instead of weeks. This timing difference transforms rest from damage control into performance optimization. Wearable HRV and cortisol tracking systems monitor key recovery markers in real time, creating comprehensive pictures of human energy systems. These systems track heart rate variability patterns that indicate autonomic nervous system stress. Cortisol level fluctuations reveal hormonal stress responses that precede exhaustion, Sleep stage distribution shows restoration quality during recovery periods. Core body temperature patterns indicate circadian rhythm alignment that affects energy cycles. This biometric approach captures recovery data that subjective feelings miss completely. The monitoring technology integrates data from multiple sources to create complete energy profiles. Your smartwatch tracks movement patterns and heart rate variability throughout the day. Your phone analyzes typing speed and app usage patterns that indicate cognitive fatigue building. Environmental factors like air quality, temperature, and noise levels affect recovery capacity. Voice pattern analysis can detect stress markers in speech that precede exhaustion. This multi-sensor approach provides early warning signals that allow intervention before exhaustion impacts performance. Elite athletes discovered that HRV patterns change 18 hours before people report feeling mentally tired. Physical exhaustion appears in movement analysis 24 hours before subjective fatigue symptoms. Emotional exhaustion manifests in heart rate variability patterns 36 hours before people recognize their emotional depletion. These early warning signals create opportunities for strategic intervention when small adjustments prevent major energy crashes. The breakthrough in predictive rest scheduling uses biometric optimization to determine personal recovery timing for maximum efficiency. Traditional rest scheduling relies on generic recommendations like taking breaks every hour or sleeping 8 hours nightly. Biometric-powered scheduling analyzes individual energy patterns, work demands, and recovery responses to create personalized rest timing that maximizes restoration while minimizing time investment. The systems calculate optimal break timing, work session length, sleep schedule, and recovery activity selection based on unique physiological profiles. Your biometric recovery system tracks energy patterns better than subjective awareness because it processes data continuously while you only notice obvious symptoms. The system identifies subtle physiological changes that occur hours before you feel tired. It analyzes patterns across weeks and months that reveal individual energy cycles. It correlates environmental factors, work stress, and lifestyle choices with recovery outcomes to identify what actually restores specific energy systems. This comprehensive analysis creates recommendations based on objective data rather than subjective feelings. Wearable technology provides personalized rest recommendations throughout the day through continuous monitoring and real-time analysis. Your device might suggest a 2-minute breathing exercise because your heart rate variability indicates rising stress levels. It could recommend a 5-minute walk because your movement patterns show physical tension accumulation. It might suggest avoiding social interactions because your stress indicators show emotional system depletion. These micro-interventions prevent energy system overload before it occurs. The competitive advantage comes from having predictive recovery guidance, while others rely on reactive rest strategies. Your system schedules demanding work during predicted peak energy windows and automatically protects low energy periods for restoration activities. It optimizes your environment for recovery by suggesting lighting temperature and activity adjustments based on current physiological state. It recommends specific recovery approaches that enhance restoration based on individual response patterns. This systematic approach creates consistent peak performance while others experience unpredictable energy fluctuations. Predictive recovery prevents burnout before it starts by identifying intervention points when small adjustments create large restoration effects. The system might detect early signs of cognitive overload and recommend switching to creative tasks that use different neural networks. It could identify social exhaustion building and suggest protecting your calendar from social demands for the next 48 hours. It might recognize sleep debt accumulation and adjust evening routines to enhance deep sleep phases. These targeted interventions maintain energy balance rather than requiring major recovery periods. The personalization extends to recovery activity selection, where biometric systems choose restoration methods based on individual response patterns rather than generic recommendations. Some people restore cognitive capacity through meditation, while others recover better through light physical activity. Some individuals need social connection for emotional restoration, while others require solitude. The systems test different recovery approaches and measure their effectiveness for specific physiology and lifestyle patterns. Implementation requires consistent monitoring to achieve optimal prediction accuracy. The systems improve their recommendations as they gather more data about individual patterns and recovery responses. Initial predictions may be moderately accurate, but accuracy increases significantly within weeks of consistent tracking. This learning curve means early adoption provides increasingly better results as the system understands unique energy patterns. But even perfect predictive recovery means nothing if you're using the wrong type of rest to restore your energy systems. Most people assume complete inactivity provides the fastest recovery when the opposite might be true. The performance recovery paradox. Elite athletes in 2025 recover faster during light activity than complete rest, and this discovery destroys everything you thought you knew about recovery. New research tracking professional athletes reveals that strategic, low-intensity movement improves performance and reduces fatigue compared to passive rest methods. While you've been told to do nothing during recovery periods, this traditional advice actually slows down your recovery process and keeps you stuck in mediocrity. The athletes dominating their sports understand that recovery isn't about shutdown. It's about smart engagement that restores energy while building capacity simultaneously. Traditional rest advice of doing nothing creates a recovery paradox where inactivity increases fatigue instead of reducing it. Your body operates like a complex system with multiple energy circuits that require different restoration methods. When you shut down completely, these circuits stagnate rather than restore. Blood flow decreases, reducing nutrient delivery to depleted tissues. Neural pathways remain in the same patterns that created fatigue. Metabolic waste products accumulate in muscles and organs instead of being cleared through gentle movement. Complete inactivity triggers a cascade of physiological responses that actually slow recovery rather than enhance it. Active recovery represents the breakthrough concept that explains why specific activities during rest periods enhance restoration faster than passive rest. Your brain doesn't restore optimally through complete shutdown because neural networks need gentle stimulation to reorganize and strengthen connections. During active recovery, targeted low-intensity activities promote circulation while clearing metabolic waste from brain and muscle tissue. This process allows your body to adapt and improve during recovery periods, rather than simply returning to baseline function. The enhancement means you emerge from active recovery stronger than when you started. The research on recovery acceleration through strategic low-intensity engagement reveals that gentle activity targets multiple restoration systems simultaneously. After intense cognitive work, your brain recovers faster through light physical movement that increases blood flow and oxygen delivery. Following physical training, your muscles restore more efficiently through gentle mobility work that promotes waste removal and nutrient circulation. Social exhaustion resolves quicker through solitary activities that engage different neural networks. This targeted approach ensures that recovery addresses the specific depletion type while maintaining optimal physiological function. Different types of gentle activity target different recovery systems with precision that passive rest cannot achieve. Creative tasks restore analytical thinking capacity by engaging different brain regions and neural networks. Light walking enhances cognitive recovery by increasing cerebral blood flow and promoting waste clearance. Gentle stretching accelerates physical recovery by improving circulation and reducing muscle tension. Social interaction restores emotional capacity depleted by isolation, while solitude restores energy drained by social demands. Nature exposure activates parasympathetic recovery while providing sensory restoration that indoor environments cannot provide. The specific active recovery protocols restore energy while building capacity through systematic engagement of underused systems. The cognitive switching protocol involves alternating between different types of mental tasks to prevent neural pathway fatigue. The movement circulation protocol uses gentle activity to enhance blood flow and waste removal throughout the body. The sensory restoration protocol engages different sensory systems to prevent overstimulation and promote nervous system balance. The social energy protocol balances interaction and solitude based on current depletion patterns. These protocols create restoration that exceeds baseline function rather than simply returning to previous levels. The competitive advantage comes from recovering faster and more completely than people using passive rest methods while building additional capacity during recovery periods. Your competition takes complete rest breaks that slow their recovery and maintain baseline performance levels. You use active recovery protocols that accelerate restoration while enhancing your capabilities for subsequent performance. This approach creates compound benefits where each recovery period makes you stronger rather than simply less tired. Over time, this advantage accumulates into dramatic performance gaps between active and passive recovery practitioners. Complete inactivity increases fatigue and slows cognitive recovery through several physiological mechanisms that most people never consider. Blood flow reduction during inactivity decreases oxygen and nutrient delivery to brain tissue that needs restoration. Metabolic waste accumulation occurs when lymphatic circulation slows during prolonged inactivity. Neural pathway stagnation happens when brain networks remain in the same patterns without gentle stimulation. Muscle tension increases during inactive periods as postural stress accumulates without movement release. These factors compound to create deeper fatigue rather than restoration during passive rest periods. The optimal intensity levels for active recovery maintain restoration benefits without causing additional depletion through careful calibration of effort and engagement. Physical activity should remain at 30 to 40% of maximum effort to promote circulation without creating metabolic stress. Cognitive tasks should engage different neural networks than those used during work to provide switching benefits without mental fatigue. Social interactions should be low stakes and positive to provide connection without emotional drain. Environmental changes should be gentle and pleasant to provide sensory restoration without overstimulation. This intensity sweet spot maximizes recovery while preventing additional energy depletion. Active recovery cuts restoration time in half while improving baseline performance because it works with your body's natural recovery mechanisms instead of fighting against them through forced inactivity. But even perfect active recovery means nothing if you can't maintain peak performance states once you achieve them. Most people accidentally destroy their highest performance moments through subtle mistakes they never recognize. Flow state preservation technology. The breakthrough comes from understanding how to extend peak performance states through strategic micro-interventions that preserve flow without disrupting momentum. Flow states traditionally last between 15 and 90 minutes before naturally degrading, but new research reveals that brief strategic interruptions can extend these periods from minutes to hours. While your competition experiences brief bursts of peak performance followed by inevitable crashes, you can sustain flow for entire work sessions through micro-recovery periods that maintain optimal cognitive conditions. Most people accidentally destroy their flow states by misunderstanding the delicate balance required to maintain peak performance. They push harder when they feel flow beginning to fade, which actually accelerates flow state collapse. They ignore subtle warning signs like decreased pattern recognition or slightly slower processing speed that indicate flow degradation is beginning. They continue working at the same intensity instead of making micro-adjustments that would preserve their peak state. This misunderstanding causes flow states to crash completely, requiring hours of recovery before peak performance returns. The new research on flow state maintenance reveals that specific patterns predict flow disruption up to 12 minutes before subjective awareness of performance decline. Your attention begins wavering before you notice reduced focus. Your pattern recognition becomes less efficient before you realize cognitive processing has slowed. Your motivation starts declining before you feel less engaged with the task. These subtle changes occur minutes before conscious awareness, creating opportunities for intervention that preserve peak performance through strategic micro-adjustments. Strategic microbreaks prevent flow disruption by addressing the underlying causes of performance degradation without interrupting the cognitive processes that create peak states. The specific micro-adjustments that preserve peak performance involve brief interventions lasting 30 seconds to 2 minutes that maintain flow momentum rather than disrupting it. Controlled breathing exercises reset nervous system balance without disengaging from the task. Brief physical adjustments release tension that accumulates during intense focus without breaking cognitive concentration. Environmental modifications like lighting changes or temperature adjustments optimize physiological conditions for sustained flow. The breakthrough discovery about flow state cycling reveals that brief strategic interruptions actually strengthen and extend flow rather than disrupting it. Traditional thinking assumes that any interruption breaks flow state, but research shows that micro-recovery periods can reset the conditions that sustain peak performance. These micro-recoveries prevent the gradual accumulation of cognitive fatigue that naturally degrades flow over time. Instead of riding flow until it crashes completely, you surf the wave using small adjustments to maintain balance and momentum throughout extended work sessions. The key insight involves recognizing that flow states require specific conditions that naturally shift over time without intervention. Flow depends on optimal attention, focus, neurotransmitter balance, and nervous system regulation that gradually change during extended performance periods. Forcing continuation when these conditions begin shifting accelerates flow state collapse rather than preserving it. The harder you try to maintain flow through willpower alone, the faster the underlying support systems become depleted. Strategic microbreaks reset these systems before depletion occurs, allowing flow to continue rather than crash. Environmental optimization during flow preservation creates the external conditions that support sustained peak performance. Temperature regulation between 68 and 72 degrees maintains optimal brain function during extended focus periods. Lighting adjustments that reduce glare and eye strain prevent the physical fatigue that disrupts cognitive flow. Air quality improvements through ventilation or air purification support the oxygen delivery that sustains mental clarity. Noise control through sound masking or quiet environments eliminates the distractions that fragment attention during peak performance states. The competitive advantage of maintaining peak performance for extended periods creates exponential productivity gains, while others experience constant performance fluctuation. Your competitors work in cycles of brief peak performance, followed by significant performance drops that require recovery time before returning to baseline function. You sustain peak performance for hours through strategic flow preservation that eliminates the productivity valleys that waste time and energy. This sustained excellence allows you to complete high-value work during extended flow sessions, while others struggle through variable performance that reduces overall output quality. Trying to maintain flow without strategic breaks actually shortens peak performance windows by allowing the conditions that support flow to gradually degrade. Flow states require specific brainwave patterns and nervous system balance that naturally shift over time without intervention. Forcing continuation when these conditions begin changing accelerates flow state collapse rather than preserving it. Strategic microbreaks reset these systems before depletion occurs, creating the foundation for sustained peak performance that naturally occurring flow states cannot maintain. Flow state preservation multiplies peak performance time significantly in a single day through systematic prevention of the performance crashes that normally fragment work sessions into brief bursts. Traditional flow states might provide 2 hours of peak performance across an 8-hour workday with significant recovery periods between sessions. Flow preservation through strategic microbreaks can extend these sessions substantially through interventions that maintain optimal conditions throughout the day. This multiplication effect transforms productivity from brief moments of excellence interrupted by mediocre performance into sustained excellence that produces exponentially greater results. But understanding how to preserve peak performance states means nothing if you don't know how strategic rest translates into measurable productivity gains that completely rewrite the rules of high-performance work. The productivity multiplication effect. Strategic rest periods multiply output value according to Harvard Business Review research that destroys everything hustle culture taught you about success. While everyone else grinds themselves into mediocrity through constant work, you can produce exponentially more value in dramatically less time through strategic recovery protocols. The mathematics are undeniable. 1 hour of peak performance work creates more value than multiple hours of depleted grinding work. This isn't about working less. This is about working at cognitive capacity levels that your exhausted competition cannot access. Hustle culture destroys productivity by preventing the brain states necessary for high-value work creation. Your brain operates like a high-performance engine that requires specific conditions to generate maximum output. Constant grinding prevents flow states, creative breakthroughs, and strategic thinking that produce the highest value work. When you force continuous work without strategic recovery, you trap yourself in low-level cognitive function that generates busy work instead of breakthrough results. The hardest workers in your field are often the least productive because they never access the brain states that create exponential value. Cognitive compounding represents the breakthrough concept that strategic rest creates exponential rather than linear productivity gains. Each strategic rest period doesn't just restore your energy, it enhances your cognitive capacity for subsequent work sessions. Rest-optimized brains process information faster, make better connections between ideas, and generate more innovative solutions than exhausted brains grinding through problems. This compounding effect means that strategic rest investment pays productivity dividends that multiply over time rather than simply maintaining baseline performance. Working fewer hours with strategic rest beats working more hours with constant grinding because of the exponential relationship between cognitive capacity and value creation. Research shows that focus declines dramatically after 50 hours per week, making additional work counterproductive. The difference lies in accessing brain states that generate breakthrough thinking, strategic insights, and creative solutions that exhausted minds cannot produce. Your competition wastes time in low-value cognitive states, while you concentrate your work during peak performance windows that multiply output value. Rest-optimized brains make better decisions, which saves hours of corrective work that compounds over time into massive productivity advantages. Poor decision-making during exhausted states creates cascading problems that require additional work hours to correct. Strategic rest ensures that your decision-making capacity remains sharp, preventing the costly mistakes that exhausted brains make regularly. Each high-quality decision made during peak cognitive states eliminates hours of corrective work that would otherwise be necessary. This decision quality improvement alone can multiply your effective productivity by eliminating wasted effort. The research reveals how strategic breaks boost focus by 13% and cut mental fatigue in half through precise calibration of cognitive capacity and restoration cycles. Every minute invested in strategic rest returns enhanced productive capacity during subsequent work periods. This return on investment accelerates over time as your brain adapts to strategic rest protocols and becomes more efficient at restoration and peak performance activation. The data clearly demonstrates that strategic rest investment generates exponential productivity returns, while continuous work generates linear diminishing returns. The competitive advantage of producing more value in less time while others remain trapped in low-value busy work creates exponential career and business advantages. While your competition spends 12 hours producing mediocre output, you complete higher quality work in 4 hours, then invest remaining time in strategic development activities. This efficiency gap compounds over months and years, creating dramatic differences in achievement levels between strategic resters and constant grinders. You advance faster, accomplish more, and maintain higher quality standards while working significantly fewer total hours. Quality of attention outweighs quantity of hours through precise calibration of cognitive capacity and restoration cycles. The optimal ratio varies by individual, but research indicates that 25 minutes of peak focus work followed by 5 minutes of strategic rest creates sustainable high performance for most cognitive workers. More demanding creative work might require 90-minute work blocks followed by 15-minute restoration periods. Physical work might need 45-minute intervals with 10-minute recovery periods. These ratios optimize the relationship between cognitive depletion and restoration for maximum sustained output. Measuring and tracking productivity multiplication requires focusing on value creation per unit of time rather than total time spent working. Traditional productivity metrics count hours worked, activities completed, and time invested in tasks. Strategic rest metrics measure breakthrough achievements, strategic insights implemented, and high-value outcomes produced relative to time invested. This measurement shift reveals the dramatic productivity advantages that strategic rest creates over time. Track decisions made during peak cognitive states versus exhausted states to quantify the quality improvement that strategic rest provides. Implementation requires systematic tracking of your cognitive capacity cycles and correlation with work output quality measurements. Monitor your energy levels, decision quality, and creative output during different work periods throughout the day. Identify the times when you produce highest value work and the conditions that support peak cognitive performance. Schedule your most important work during these peak windows and protect these periods from low-value activities. Use strategic rest to maintain these peak performance windows longer and more frequently throughout each day. But strategic rest means nothing if you're constantly fighting against the digital overwhelm that fragments your attention throughout the day. Most people think the solution is cutting technology completely. Digital detox. The real breakthrough comes from using it strategically. The solution lies in strategic digital fasting protocols that harness technology as a cognitive enhancement tool rather than treating it like digital poison that must be completely avoided. Complete digital detoxes create rebound effects where people binge on digital consumption after periods of complete disconnection, making the original problem more severe than before. Your brain craves the dopamine hits that digital interaction provides, and complete deprivation intensifies these cravings rather than eliminating them. When you finally reconnect after complete detox, you tend to consume digital content more compulsively than before the detox period began. Attention diet optimization represents the breakthrough approach that curates digital inputs for cognitive enhancement rather than cognitive depletion. Your attention operates like your digestive system, requiring quality inputs that nourish cognitive function rather than junk inputs that drain mental energy. Strategic digital consumption involves selecting apps, tools, content, and timing that support your cognitive performance goals while eliminating digital junk food that provides temporary stimulation but long-term depletion. This curation process transforms technology from an attention destroyer into an attention enhancer that supports rather than undermines peak performance. Digital rhythm alignment syncs technology use with your natural energy cycles, creating harmony between digital engagement and biological function. Your brain operates on predictable energy cycles throughout the day, with peak performance windows and natural restoration periods. Strategic digital engagement means consuming analytical content during peak cognitive hours, creative content during transition periods, and restorative content during low energy periods. This alignment prevents technology from fighting against your natural rhythms and transforms digital consumption into a tool that supports, rather than disrupts, optimal cognitive function. The research reveals that different types of digital content affect your brain differently depending on when you consume them. Morning hours, when cortisol levels are naturally elevated, work better for information-heavy content that requires analytical processing. Afternoon transition periods, when creativity peaks, benefit from visual and artistic digital content that stimulates innovative thinking. Evening hours, when melatonin production begins, should focus on calming digital content that supports rather than disrupts sleep preparation. This timing strategy maximizes the cognitive benefits of digital consumption while minimizing the disruptive effects. Notification fasting creates specific periods where all non-essential digital inputs are disabled, allowing your brain to process information without constant interruption. Your cognitive system requires uninterrupted time to consolidate learning, strengthen neural pathways, and clear metabolic waste that accumulates during intense digital consumption. The brain requires uninterrupted processing time, and constant notifications hinder the deep restoration that occurs during genuine rest. Strategic notification fasting protects restoration periods while maintaining access to truly urgent communications. The key lies in distinguishing between urgent notifications that require immediate attention and non-urgent inputs that can be batched for specific processing times. Tech-free zones at home create physical spaces dedicated to restoration that remain protected from digital intrusion. These zones provide cognitive sanctuaries where your brain can fully disengage from digital processing and access deeper levels of restoration. The bedroom should remain completely digital-free to protect sleep architecture. Living areas can have designated tech-free periods that support family connection and relaxation. These physical boundaries reinforce mental boundaries that make digital optimization more effective and sustainable. Strategic digital rest involves creating intentional breaks from connectivity without completely disconnecting. This approach requires being fluent in both connected and disconnected states. The key is mindful re-engagement, returning to devices with a specific purpose, engaging for that purpose, and then disconnecting again. This method allows you to leverage the advantages of digital connection while safeguarding cognitive resources from constant depletion. Specific protocols for digital engagement support rest quality through strategic timing, content selection, and environmental optimization. The morning digital protocol involves consuming information-rich content during peak analytical hours while avoiding social media that triggers comparison stress. The midday protocol focuses on creative digital content that enhances innovative thinking during natural creativity peaks. The evening protocol emphasizes calming content that supports sleep preparation while avoiding stimulating content that disrupts melatonin production. These protocols create structure that maximizes digital benefits while protecting rest quality. The competitive advantage of using technology as a rest enhancement tool rather than avoiding it completely allows you to stay connected and productive while others sacrifice efficiency through complete disconnection. Digital optimization lets you maintain business relationships, access important information, and use productivity tools while protecting your cognitive resources from depletion. You gain the benefits of connectivity without the costs of digital overwhelm that plague people who haven't learned strategic digital engagement. Digital Detox 2.0 lets you stay connected while achieving deeper restoration than complete disconnection, because it works with modern reality rather than against it. Strategic digital engagement maintains the benefits of connectivity while eliminating the costs of digital overwhelm. You remain productive, efficient, and connected while protecting your cognitive resources through intelligent curation and timing. This approach creates sustainable digital habits that support rather than undermine long-term cognitive health and peak performance capacity. But having all these strategic rest techniques means nothing if you're applying them randomly, hoping they work, instead of building systematic approaches that make optimal recovery happen automatically without relying on willpower or memory. Building your rest operating system. The foundation is in creating systems that make optimal rest automatic and effortless. Top performers in 2025 understand something that exhausted grinders never figure out. Rest isn't something you do, it's something you engineer. While your competition relies on motivation and memory to rest properly, you can create environments, schedules, and routines that make peak performance recovery happen without thinking about it. This isn't about adding more tasks to your day. This is about designing your life so that restoration becomes as automatic as breathing. Most people's rest happens by accident, rather than by design, leading to inconsistent recovery and unpredictable performance. They rest when they remember to rest. They sleep when they finally get tired enough. They take breaks when work becomes unbearable. This accidental approach creates massive variation in energy levels and cognitive capacity from day to day. You never know if you'll wake up feeling energized or exhausted because your recovery depends on circumstances rather than systems. Strategic resters eliminate this uncertainty by building rest into their life structure so that optimal recovery happens automatically, regardless of external conditions. Sleep consistency forms the cornerstone of any effective rest system because your brain craves predictability more than it craves extra time. Going to bed and waking up at the same time 7 days a week synchronizes your circadian rhythm and maximizes sleep efficiency. People with consistent 6-hour sleep schedules outperform those with variable 8-hour schedules on cognitive tests, reaction time, and sustained attention. Your internal clock operates like a precision instrument that requires regular calibration through consistent timing. Set your sleep and wake times based on your natural chronotype and protect these times like important business meetings. Environmental optimization creates the physical conditions that support the 7 types of rest your body requires. Your bedroom becomes a sleep sanctuary optimized for physical and mental restoration, with temperature control at 65 degrees, blackout curtains that eliminate light pollution, and air purification that creates perfect conditions for deep sleep cycles. Create dedicated spaces for different types of rest throughout your living and work areas. Designate a quiet corner for mental rest where you can completely disengage from analytical thinking. Establish a comfortable area for sensory rest where you can reduce stimulation and calm nervous system activation. These environmental changes eliminate decision fatigue around rest choices because your surroundings automatically promote restoration. Microbreak integration transforms brief restoration periods into automatic habits that maintain peak cognitive function throughout the day. The research-backed approach involves 30-second attention resets that restore focus and creativity more effectively than longer traditional breaks. Install visual cues in your workspace that remind you to take these strategic breaks every 25 minutes. Create simple rituals like looking out the window, taking 3 deep breaths, or closing your eyes and listening to ambient sounds. These micro-interventions become as automatic as checking your phone when you build them into your existing behavior patterns through consistent practice and environmental triggers. Habit stacking embeds recovery practices into routines you already perform consistently, creating automatic triggers for restoration activities without adding complexity to your day. After brushing your teeth, perform a 2-minute breathing exercise that activates parasympathetic recovery. When you sit down at your desk, adjust your posture and take 3 deep breaths that prepare your nervous system for focused work. Before starting your car, spend 30 seconds setting an intention for the drive that transitions you between activities mindfully. These habit stacks embed recovery into your existing behavior patterns, making them as automatic as the original habits they're attached to. Schedule design aligns your most demanding work with natural energy peaks while protecting low energy periods for restoration activities. Identify your peak performance windows through careful observation of your energy patterns throughout the day. Schedule analytical work during these peak periods when your prefrontal cortex operates most efficiently. Plan creative work during transition periods when your default mode network generates novel connections. Reserve routine tasks for low energy periods that don't require sustained attention or complex decision-making. This alignment eliminates the energy waste that comes from fighting against your natural rhythms. Physical space optimization makes recovery activities more convenient and attractive than alternatives that drain your energy. Stock your kitchen with foods that enhance recovery nutrition, making healthy choices easier than processed alternatives. Create comfortable areas for different types of rest that are more appealing than digital distractions. Remove barriers that prevent you from following through on rest intentions while adding friction to activities that undermine recovery quality. These environmental modifications work with human psychology rather than against it by making the path of least resistance lead to optimal recovery. The compound effect of systematic rest optimization creates exponential improvements in performance capacity as your recovery becomes more efficient and your energy reserves expand. Small changes in sleep consistency, environmental optimization, and micro-break timing multiply over weeks and months into dramatic differences in cognitive capacity and sustained performance. Your personalized rest system makes peak performance your default state rather than an occasional achievement that depends on perfect circumstances. But building systems means nothing if you don't fully embrace what it means to become someone who operates from this level of strategic recovery. The real transformation happens when you stop seeing rest as something you do and start seeing it as who you are. The dangerous Restster identity. This identity shift changes everything about how you approach performance and life. When you fully embrace the dangerous Restster identity, you access cognitive capacity that most people never experience, because they're constantly operating from depletion. The dangerous Restster identity represents a complete reframe of how you approach energy, work, and achievement. Instead of grinding through fatigue, you engineer peak performance through strategic recovery. Instead of wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor, you treat rest like a competitive weapon that enhances your capabilities. You face a critical choice right now. Continue grinding yourself into mediocrity through exhaustion culture, or become dangerously well-rested and operate at performance levels that seem impossible to everyone else. Most people choose the familiar path of constant busyness because it feels productive even though it produces mediocre results. They mistake motion for progress and exhaustion for dedication. Meanwhile, dangerous resters understand that sustainable peak performance requires strategic energy management that most people never learn. This choice determines whether you join the exhausted masses struggling through each day or the elite few who've discovered the competitive advantage of strategic rest. Mastering strategic rest in 2025 gives you a significant advantage over people still trapped in hustle culture, thinking because you access brain states and energy levels that exhausted people cannot reach. While they're grinding through mental fog, you're operating with crystalline clarity. While they're making decisions from cognitive depletion, you're choosing from cognitive abundance. While they're pushing through fatigue that reduces their effectiveness, you're maintaining peak performance through strategic recovery. This advantage builds over time, creating substantial gaps between your achievements and those of people who haven't learned strategic rest principles. The compound effects of implementing these strategies work together to create improvements that far exceed the sum of their individual parts. Sleep optimization amplifies the effectiveness of micro-recovery protocols. Strategic break timing enhances flow state preservation. Recovery optimization multiplies productivity gains from strategic rest scheduling. Environmental design supports neurological recovery that enables sustained peak performance. Each strategy reinforces the others, creating a synergistic system that produces results that seem impossible when you're operating from traditional rest approaches. When you're no longer limited by poor rest and energy management, entire new levels of possibility open up in every area of your life. Your cognitive capacity expands, allowing you to tackle complex problems that previously seemed overwhelming. Your creative output increases because you access brain states that generate innovative solutions and breakthrough insights. Your decision-making improves because you're choosing from cognitive abundance rather than depletion. Your relationships enhance because you have emotional and social energy available for deep connection. Your physical performance increases because your recovery systems operate at optimal efficiency. The dangerous rester mindset shifts your entire approach to work relationships and personal development by reframing rest as a skill rather than a necessity. In work, you stop measuring success by hours invested and start measuring by value created during peak performance windows. In relationships, you understand that emotional availability requires energy management, and you protect your social energy for meaningful connections. In personal development, you realize that growth happens during recovery periods when your brain consolidates learning and adapts to new challenges. This mindset eliminates the false choice between rest and achievement by revealing that strategic rest enables extraordinary achievement. Effortless high performance becomes your natural state when you work with your biology instead of against it through strategic rest protocols. Your work feels effortless because you're operating during natural peak energy windows rather than forcing performance during low energy periods. Your creativity flows naturally because you're accessing brain states that generate innovative solutions rather than grinding through problems with depleted cognitive resources. Your decision-making becomes intuitive because you're choosing from cognitive clarity rather than mental fog. Your physical energy remains stable because your recovery systems maintain optimal function rather than operating from constant depletion. This effortless quality emerges because you're synchronizing your activities with your natural rhythms rather than fighting against them. Your brain operates on predictable cycles of focus and restoration that you can learn to recognize and leverage. Your body follows circadian patterns that optimize different types of performance at different times. Your nervous system requires specific recovery protocols to maintain peak function. When you align your work and rest with these biological patterns, performance becomes effortless because you're working with your natural systems rather than against them. The final revelation that transforms everything is understanding that rest isn't the opposite of achievement. It's the foundation that makes extraordinary achievement sustainable over time. Every elite performer in history understood this principle, whether they articulated it clearly or not. They didn't achieve greatness despite their rest practices. They achieved greatness because of their rest practices. Strategic rest doesn't limit your potential. It unlocks potential that exhaustion culture makes impossible to access. This realization eliminates the guilt and resistance around rest that keeps most people trapped in mediocrity through chronic depletion. The time has come to reject the exhaustion epidemic that has normalized chronic fatigue and underperformance as inevitable parts of modern life. You can join the ranks of people who've discovered the competitive advantage of strategic rest and experience the transformation that comes with optimized energy management. The dangerous Restster identity isn't about being lazy or unambitious, it's about being strategic and effective in ways that most people never discover. It's about accessing your full potential rather than operating from the diminished capacity that exhaustion culture creates. Start with the 7 types of rest and implement the strategic protocols that boost focus and performance. Optimize your sleep architecture through consistent timing and environmental design. Use microbreaks to maintain peak cognitive function throughout your workday. Align your most demanding work with your natural chronotype for effortless performance. These validated approaches transform your relationship with rest from reactive recovery to proactive performance enhancement. You now possess the knowledge that separates elite performers from the exhausted masses who mistake busyness for productivity. The evidence is clear and the strategies are proven. 3 research-backed approaches can transform your performance immediately. Sleep quality beats sleep duration every time. Track your sleep efficiency rather than counting hours and maintain consistent sleep and wake times 7 days a week. Strategic microbreaks restore focus faster than long breaks. Practice 30-second attention resets every 25 minutes by looking out windows, taking deep breaths, or listening to ambient sounds. Align your work with natural rhythms by scheduling demanding tasks during your peak energy windows and protecting low-energy periods for restoration. Start implementing one strategic rest strategy today and track the real improvements in your cognitive capacity and sustained performance. While others exhaust themselves chasing productivity through longer hours, you can rest your way to extraordinary performance that seems impossible to everyone else.